United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, or UNDESA, had released their report on how the current world crisis have impacted progress to achieve sustainable development goals. Rahmat Idris had the opportunity to interview officials from the organization a while back. Now let's take a look.
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Rahmat Idris. I'm from TVRI, or the Television of the Republic of Indonesia. TVRI World, we are broadcasting in English from Indonesia. And a very good morning to all of you, our esteemed speakers and guests in this forum. From Bali, Indonesia. Thank you very much for this privilege and opportunity to participate in this meeting. First of all, I'd like to congratulate and also express our gratitude to the report. It's such a revelation for us to read and to analyze. I'd like to address my first question to Madam Francesca Berrucci from UNDESA. Madam Francesca, my first question to you would be on behalf of our viewers. Would like to get first the brief highlights of the report released by UNDESA on the impacts of the disruptions and also the global geopolitical tensions towards our efforts to achieve the SDG goals.
Thank you, and thanks so much. A pleasure to be here with you today, and thanks for the opportunity that you're giving us to talk about the findings of the 2022 Sustainable Development Goals report. Unfortunately, the report shows that progress on the SDGs has been slowed and in some cases even reversed by a number of years by the COVID-19 pandemic and by the multiple crises that the world is facing. Just to give you some examples, more than 4 years of progress in alleviating poverty have been wiped out, pushing 93 million more people worldwide into extreme poverty in 2020 as a result of the pandemic. And now with the combined crisis, we could see an additional 75 to 95 million people living in extreme poverty in 2022, compared with what we thought we would be, where we thought we would be with the pre-pandemic projections. We expected to be at about 581 million people living in extreme poverty, and we're now projecting between 657 and 677, so a huge difference. And similarly, we see more people being pushed into hunger. 150 million more people in 21 compared to 2019. And overall, about 1 in 10 people worldwide are suffering from hunger. And nearly 1 in 3 people lack regular access to adequate food. So these are the extreme impacts, right, of COVID-19. But we see, of course, the number of deaths directly or indirectly attributable to COVID-19 that have reached 50 million, according to estimates, by the end of 2021. And the pandemic has also disrupted essential health services and interrupting health services in 92% of the 130 countries, 129 countries that have been surveyed. Immunization coverage has dropped for the first time in 10 years, with children, millions of children missing out on routine immunization, and deaths from tuberculosis and malaria increasing also. So these are some of the sort of, immediate impacts that we see in the numbers. But of course, more the COVID-19, unfortunately, the impacts of the crisis and the effects are still far from over. We've seen impacts on education, with an estimated 147 million children who miss more than half of their in-person instruction over the past 2 years. And this will have repercussions for years to come. And with COVID, we've seen that inequalities in education, access to education, have been exacerbated, and the learning outcomes have decreased.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Parucci, and those are some grave matters indeed. I'd like to address my next question to Mrs. Yongyi Mint. Ms. Mint, what drove UNDESA to sort of shine a light to the effort towards achieving SDG goals, particularly for this report? And what were the mechanisms to sort of get the latest data and the most accurate data to be able to portray accurately the current conditions, the impacts of these disruptions towards our efforts to achieve the goals?
Yeah, thank you for those questions. And you know that the COVID-19 not only disrupted the progress of the SDG, it actually disrupted the data collection. So with the COVID constraint measurement, a lot of face-to-face data collection has been stopped. So however, the National Statistical Office and National Statistics in this during this time has been very innovative. They use a lot of innovations in data collection for that. For example, they use a phone service, they use a web service, and the other approach and integrate in and like a remote sensoring and geospatial information. So we actually see improvement in the data, and despite all the other setback in SDG progress. So last year, just give you an example. Last year in the SDG global database, we have 1.6 million data points, and this year we actually reach 2.3 million. This is a collaboration of the National Statistical Office and the international organization together, improving the data collection, improving capacity building, improving the methodology and the indicators.
All right, thank you, Ms. Mint. I'd like to go over again to Madam Parucci. Madam, Indonesia, as a matter of fact, assumed the presidency of the G20 this year, with deliberations happening across 2022, meaning that within the G20, these countries, some of the biggest economies in the world, will have a say in determining where the world will go next. And based from the report that's been released by UNDESA, how do you think the deliberations, particularly leading towards the summit later on in November here in Bali, will contribute to the efforts to better achieve our SDG goals? And as a matter of fact, this very morning, foreign ministers from the 20 member states of the G20 have arrived here in Bali, Indonesia to meet up. And Anthony Blinken will meet for the first time with Sergei Lavrov, minister from Russia, for the first time since the war in Ukraine. There's a lot of expectations on what's going to transpire at the table of the discussions. So how do you think this will be leading towards finding solutions based also on the report from the UNDESA? And also a representative of UN will be here as well.
Yes, thank you. And I'm aware of the fact that also in preparing Indonesia to take up the chairmanship, they have also placed a lot of emphasis on data, on the importance of data, of bringing about innovation and ensuring that we have the proper data that we need to address the multiple crises that we're facing and to accelerate the implementation of the SDGs. So I'm very confident that the discussion of, and my hope is that the discussion of the G20 will focus on the priority that have been identified through the monitoring and through the exercise that ourselves and in collaboration with the whole UN system, we work with all our partners. And indirectly, we get contributions from all parts of society, right? Because the data that we put together are the result of work of not only national statistical offices, but a lot of partners who contribute to the preparation of and the production of data in each country. So my hope is that the G20 discussion will pay attention to the facts, to what is the evidence that we show, because that's central, right? To understand what the priorities are. Our report doesn't make very specific policy recommendations. That's not what the report is about. But our report is really helpful in terms of understanding where the gaps are, understanding the interrelations across the targets and the goals, understanding where the more urgent actions are needed, and really providing that roadmap that the SDGs can be in terms of defining the interventions that we need to face the multiple crises.
Over.
All right, Madam Francesca Tarucci, Mrs. Young Yuma, thank you very much for your insights here on TVR World. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.